choose 13 different fabrics, and any fabrics that you like, and put them in order. I'm doing mine from light to dark, but you can put them in any order you want to. And on page 1 of your instructions, there's a little swatch chart at the bottom, and it's numbered. So put the numbers, the swatches where they belong, because you're going to be following this. You need to do this. Don't skip this part. The next step you're going to do is sew 6 sets of horizontal strips. This is on page 2 at the very top. You're going to start with your number 1 fabric and go from 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 13. So you have 6 strips of each fabric, and you'll end up with 6 of these strip sets. Here is one of my strip sets that's finished, and it goes from fabric number 1 all the way to fabric number 13. And what I like to do is stitch one panel at a time. So I'll start with number 1, and I'll sew 1 strip, also number 1 to number 2, and then I go and press it. And then I sew the 3rd one on and I press it. I found that it's easier to keep track of things that way, and it takes less room when you're trying to do it. I've tried starting off doing all 6 at once, where I did all 6 of number 1 and number 2, then added number 3 to all 6, and it just seemed to be more confusing that way. So do however way works best for you. And if I turn this over, every time I stitched a strip to get to the next strip, I pressed the seam. So I stitched, I pressed. And you're going to alternate the direction. It doesn't matter which direction, just alternate. So this is going down, this is going up, next one down, next one up. And all of your strip sets you do, press in the same direction. So if you started off pressing in this direction, do all of them the same. What that's going to do for you is, once we take these and start cutting them into strips and sewing them back together, these seams will interlock better. So if you prefer to press to one side, then do it this way. If you prefer to press your seams open, then press all of your seams open. But it really interlocks really nice if you press the seams to one side. And what you're going to do after you finish your strip set, your horizontal strip set, you're going to fold them right sides together. And so we're going to line up fabric number 1 and then fabric number 13. Line up the edges and make sure that this is nice and flat. Sometimes it'll be a little wonky, so just work with it a little bit. And line it all up all the way across, like this. And then you're going to stitch these two together, and you're forming a tube. So this will be a tube when you're finished with it. And don't press this seam when you're finished. We're still on page number 2 of the instructions, and we're looking at step 2, cut the vertical loops. For this one, you'll need to have 5 different containers. I usually put mine in plastic bags, or if you have little shoe boxes or any kind of container, but you need 5 of them to put these strips in once you cut them. And there are 5 different widths of strips, from 1.5 to 2.5, 3, and 3.5. And this little chart tells you how many strips you need of each. So the 1.5, you need 12 strips. The 2, 2.5, and 3, you need 24 strips each. And the 3.5, you need 12 strips, sorry. So I always start with the largest one first, because if you get to the end of your set as you're cutting, you might have enough room to cut one of these smaller ones. So we're going to start with the 3.5 inch first. Now I've already cut the 3 inch, the 3.5 inch, the 3 inch, and most of the 2.5-inch pieces. So I'll cut the remaining 2 pieces that I need in this demo. And this is what you're going to have. Everything is going to be a loop. So keep it in the loop, because as we put them together, we're going to take the loop apart at different places. So for now, put all of your 3.5 inches in one container, all of your 3 inches in another container, and so forth. To keep track of the pieces, the number of pieces I need, I look at this chart and I write the numbers on a scrap piece of paper. So here's 3.5 inches, and I need 12, 3, I need 24, and so on all the way down. So as I cut them, I subtract them from what I need. So for this one I had cut 12, and so that was all I needed. So I'm done with the 3.5 inches. The 3 inches I needed 24, and first I cut 7, then I cut another 7, then I cut another 10, and I got down to 0. And I'm on the 2.5 inch now, and I cut 5, 9, then 8, and I need 2 more. So I'm going to cut the 2 off of this strip here first, and then I'll move on to the 2 inches. Now this is laid out as flat as it can be, and sometimes you'll notice that on one side it'll be pretty flat, and then as you get toward the end it gets a little wonky. So as you get there and you've cut some strips off, then just reflatten it to make sure it's all flat, and you might have to trim off the edge again. So over on this side, we make sure that we've cleared all the selvages are off, and I always find some little line here on the cutting mat so I can line up the bottom edge. So I'm going to cut off this selvage part here. Now I need, from my chart, I can see I need 2 more pieces at 2.5 inches. And there's 2. So I'll go to my sheet now, and I'll subtract 2 off of the 2.5, and I've got all of my 2.5 inch strips. So I'll put these together with the others and put them in their separate container. Now we go on to the next one, and it's 2 inches, and I need 24 of those. We'll cut as many as we can off of this strip and go to the next strip if we need to. Now I finished cutting all my 2.5 inch strips. There's 24. And then the last set is 12 strips cut at 1.5 inches. And this is what I had left over. So if you make a mistake, there's a little bit left over for you to fix your mistake. Now that we've sewn everything together, cut it all apart, we're going to sew them back together again. And that will be step 3, where we lay out all the panels. And this is the fun part. It's not hard, you just have to concentrate. So when you're ready, we're going to start putting the panels back together. Now step 3 is going to look really daunting, but don't let all these charts make you confused, because they're really easy. We're going to use the chart on page 3. These smaller ones are easier to understand. And the chart on page 4 is simply another backup copy. If you need to check your work, or some people like this bigger chart better. So let me show you how they're different and how they're the same. The chart on page 3 is what we're going to use to lay out the panels. And these charts are just the same. It has the column number, and the columns go from 1 to 31. And over here they go from 1 to 31. It has the loop size in inches, and that's the width of the loop that you just cut. So here the first one is 2.5, the second one is 2, and it just follows the chart. And this one tells you where to cut the seam between the two fabrics, and I'll show you what that means. And that's not on this chart. And this last column tells you which fabric goes on the top. This chart here you can use to check your work because it has all of the colors listed in order. This one just has the top fabric listed here. So if you want to check your work from here or you get confused, look at this chart and that will help you. So we'll just take this away for now. And what we're going to do is construct, this is page 5. We're going to construct 3 panels now, and we're going to do one at a time. But this is our ultimate goal here, and each of the panels is identical. Now you're going to need your swatch chart, and you're going to need a seam ripper. Also, look for a piece of paper that you can lay down here and follow the lines on the chart. So, column number 1 we're going to start with, and our loop size is 2.5 inches. So we grab the 2.5 inch loop, that's the width, and it says to cut the seam between these fabric numbers, 10 and 11. So we look over here, and here's fabric 10 is red on mine, and 11 is green. So we look for messed that up. We look for the red and green, that's right here, and we're going to take this seam out between the two. And I find if we go through about every fourth or fifth seam on one side, then flip it over, and then the rest just pulls out easily. So now you look at this chart, and it says the top fabric is number 11. So if I look on my swatch chart, 11 is the green fabric. So this one is going to go on the top, and I'm going to put it on this side, like that. And now I'm going to move this over. So column number 2, we want the 2-inch strip. And you could follow along on your copy since you can't see what it says. And we're going to cut the seam between 9 and 10. So fabric 9 is orange and 10 is red. So here's orange and here's red. Cut the seam line between the two fabrics. Flip this over and then pull this out. Then this one says the top fabric is number 10, which on here it's the red. So here's the red, it's going on top. And you lay it next to the first one. And you'll notice every time you lay a piece on here, there has to be a stair step either coming down or up with the colors. So you see here's the green and the purple, and it goes all the way down just like that. That's one way to check that you're on the right track. So now let's do column 3, and we need 1.5 inch loop. So let's pull this one, and we're going to cut the seam between fabric 8 and 9. So 8 is this other green, and it's next to the orange. So here's the green next to the orange, and we'll take these stitches out. And it tells me, this is number 3, it tells me that fabric number 9 goes on the top. So that is the orange fabric. We put it down here and we check. Now, here's the red still coming down, and the green is coming down. So we're okay there. Now we'll move on to number 4. It's the 2-inch loop, and we're going to cut between 9 and 10. So 9 is orange and 10 is red. Here's orange, here's red. We cut this seam between them. Okay, and then the fabric on top is number 10, and it's the red. So you see in this one, the red is going back up now. So it's come down and it's gone up. And so the green, the purple, everything is going down and up the same way. And you're going to continue this from 1 to 31 on your chart. And that will make one panel. Now I have a design wall, so I'm able to put these on the design wall. If you don't have a design wall, you'll need about 2¼ yards of fabric, and this fabric won't be cut up. You'll just use it to hold your pieces. So lay it out on a table or a bed, and as you do these, just pin them to the fabric. That way, if you have to stop in the middle, you can just fold it up and everything is still in place. So pin each one as you go. And I'll show you what my design wall looks like. Here is what the top of the design wall looks like. I've done one panel already, so this one is already sewn, and this is the top one. But they're all identical, so it doesn't matter. And here is the bottom one, and you can see I've got them all lined up, and they're pinned at the top. And what I'm going to do now is start from this left-hand side and just sew them together. And what I do is I grab two, sew them together, then press. Grab the next one, sew it on, and press. So you'll get your work out. And it goes pretty fast. It's a really manageable size at this point. So go through, do one panel first so you can see how it's put together. And also as they're laying out, you can check them to make sure that you have the pattern you want, and you can use that second chart if you need to. So go ahead and sew all 3 panels now.